Video is about how to use Codespaces to program in Python. It really assumes no knowledge, and let's start from the beginning. At this stage, we have a test student or a test account which has logged into GitHub, and they here are just at this point they're on the landing page. Now there has been a few repositories created previously, but effectively I would think most landing pages would look somewhat similar to this. So there's a few ways to get into Codespaces. I'm going to choose this option here. Just what if we call this little thing on the top left-hand side? From here, I go into Codespaces. I guess one of the things that's confusing about Codespaces is there is quite a number of options, but I'm just going to choose a blank starting point. So I'm going to use one of these templates and start with this. This will actually now create a code space, which is in effect a container or a virtual machine. And in that, it has the programming environment set up. So we have a few choices here. This can be a little bit overwhelming. There's so many options here because we've got effectively a full Visual Studio set up here. And we kind of have all the power and flexibility that you might normally have with Visual Studio if you're running it on your own desktop. I'm just going to choose a few options. Now, again, there's plenty of other options and things you could do here. I'm going to choose dark, modern. Again, lots of different options. And at that stage, I'm just going to, I think, just leave the welcome screen. So, so at this point, I want to create a Python program. And I'll just call this, for something really original, test1.py. So I think if I write some Python code, traditional hello world, and there's no option to run it. And that's because at this stage, we haven't installed the Python extension. It's all sort of very blank. So we can go in to the extensions here. And I think it's going to come up with all the ones that are available. If Python doesn't come up at this stage, we could search it, but I'm just going to install it. Now, there are other Python-related extensions we could install, but I'm just trying to keep this as simple as possible. So I'm letting that one install. And then once that is done, we can see it's now installed as an extension. I'll go back into my program and I'll just go here. Okay, so we now have the program here and we have the run button. So I have or can and now have run that program and it's all good. So I could obviously continue to develop that program as much as I like. Essentially, I can run Python programs now and have it output here. I notice here there's, and this is one of the challenges with trying to understand Visual Studio Code, in that it's constantly trying to give you help. It can see that there's a recommend Python extension from Microsoft for Python language. I'm just keeping it simple, so I won't do that. I've already got Python installed, I think, so we're all okay. It hasn't got a virtual environment set up, so that's fine. At this stage, I can run programs. It is already in its own virtual or Docker container, I think it is, and so it's already virtualized to some extent. But I could install a virtual environment, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to leave it at this, and at this stage, I can just continue to develop and test Python programs in this environment and obviously continue to run them. So well, just to show that I can write more, I'll go undo and run this, and we can see here that program is running. So at this stage, let's say I want to finish with the container. I can simply just close it at that stage, and it appears to have gone. It's disappeared, but I can still get to it by having a look here under Codespaces. I think if I refresh that at this stage, I can see that here is my Codespaces container, and I can see some details about it. It's allocated 2 cores, 8 gig, I think it is. I'm not sure exactly how this works. But it's still actually active. So in fact, if I go and I think just click on it, it will, no, that didn't do it. Let me just, I should be able to open it in a browser. And this subsequently opens the container up, and I'm back into the environment. Again, I can continue running that program, just taking a moment to get started. And again, when I'm finished with it, I can close it. Again, let me just go back into Codespaces and refresh that. And I can see that I have my one Codespace here. It's still active, and I believe there are some defaults, and that's likely to remain active if it's not used for another 30 minutes or so. I can, if I want to actually stop that Codespace. That doesn't mean it's disappeared. That means it will just no longer be active. So I've stopped it and it's no longer running. That may or may not be important because I only have so many hours that I can use Codespace for within my free account. And I can check that by going to, where are we? In the settings, I think it is. And under the billing and plans and usage, if I scroll down here, we can see this is a free account. It has various things with it, including within Codespaces. It says that there's 120 hours or core hours used within this period of 28 days or whatever it's set for, and some storage. So the storage probably shouldn't be an issue, but possibly if you're using it a lot, then the hours could be an issue. But if the container or the Codespace is not active, then it's not using up these hours. So so long as something's not left active for a long time, again, it should time out, then that should also not be an issue. So that's it for this introductory video on the use of Codespaces. Oh, sorry, there's one more thing I should say, that I think the default policy is that if I do not, well, basically, I think after something like 30 days, if it's not used, the Codespace is actually deleted. So again, if I go back into my Codespace, just so we're clear on what we're talking about, this particular Codespace will be deleted after, I believe, a default period of 30 days of non-use. That could be a problem, particularly in this case, because I haven't actually saved the code anywhere other than in the Codespace. Now, I can do that. I can make sure the code is saved in a GitHub repository, in which case it's going to stay there for a long time, perhaps ever, but it's certainly not going to be deleted after 30 days. So if you're using it a lot, then it's probably more appropriate to make sure that you actually saving the code into a GitHub repository, not just leaving it in a container or Codespace container. And that's all for that video.